This is absolutely wild, ladies and gentlemen, because according to Stephen A. Smith, we now have some new reports that completely shift the conversation, and it all surrounds one player in particular. Stephen A. said straight up on his show that while the Lakers roster looks strong on paper, there are still gaps if they want to be viewed as legitimate championship favorites. He pointed directly to the center position, saying that Los Angeles, despite having DeAndre Ayton as the starter, is still one or two role players away from truly solidifying that front court. Stephen A. made it clear, depth at the 5 spot matters. He mentioned Jackson Hayes, acknowledged his athleticism, but didn't sugarcoat it. Offensively, Hayes is limited, and if Ayton doesn't hit his ceiling this year, the Lakers could be in the exact same position they found themselves in last season, scrambling for reliable backup minutes. And that's where Stephen A. brought up a very interesting name, Thomas Bryant. According to him, Bryant isn't some superstar piece, but he represents something the Lakers need: experience, toughness, and flexibility. Stephen A. highlighted the fact that Bryant has playoff experience, having been part of deep runs, and said that kind of presence on a bench is never something to dismiss. He pointed to Bryant's skill set, a player who can finish inside, who can stretch the floor, who understands his role, and stressed that those qualities matter more than people realize when you're talking about championship rotation. Stephen A. even noted that the Lakers had Bryant before, and although those stints were short-lived, a third run could make sense if the organization commits to giving him a more meaningful role this time around. And beyond just filling minutes, he argued that having someone like Bryant provides what he called insurance, because we know in the NBA, injuries happen, rotations get tight, and suddenly you're depending on depth you didn't think you'd need. Now, of course, Stephen A. didn't say this was some blockbuster signing waiting to happen. He admitted it's not a guarantee, not the most likely move, but he explained why it's worth monitoring. Because at this point in the offseason, teams are combing through every possible option to prepare for training camp and preseason. And his larger point wasn't just about Bryant himself, but about the Lakers' front court as a whole. Are they really deep enough? Do they truly have the stability behind Ayton? That's the question he kept going back to. He reminded viewers that while Ayton has the talent to be absolutely electric in his words, there are still concerns about consistency. Stephen A. admitted he's higher on Ayton than a lot of critics, but he didn't shy away from the reality. If Ayton struggles or isn't dominant, then what? Then it's Jackson Hayes. Then it's Maxi Kleber. And Stephen A. stressed that those options, while intriguing, are not guaranteed. Kleber is coming into camp in the best shape of his life, doing things that have people buzzing, but again, it's projection, not proof. So, Stephen A.'s conclusion was that the Lakers might not desperately need another center, but it wouldn't hurt to bring in one more proven, reliable veteran to stabilize the rotation. And in his view, Thomas Bryant fits that description better than most of the names floating around right now. Now, Stephen A. didn't stop there, folks. He doubled down on the Thomas Bryant talk, pointing out that this is a guy who just came off an NBA Finals appearance, still only 27 years old, and has shown flashes of being able to stretch the floor with that three-point shot. Stephen A. made it clear, it's not about Bryant being some game-changer, it's about whether the Lakers have the right balance between star power and depth. And his challenge was simple. Do you add another body like Bryant to reinforce the front court? Or do you start thinking bigger, looking toward a larger trade that could shake up the roster in a meaningful way? He was very blunt about it. Stephen A. said, "Look, Gabe Vincent? Solid. But if moving him helps you address a more pressing need, you consider it. You don't touch Austin Reeves. That's obvious. He's a foundational piece. But Vincent, role players like that? If a deal's there, you explore it." That was his whole angle. The Lakers have depth? Yes. But are those guys good enough when the lights are the brightest in May and June? That's the question he pressed over and over. And Stephen A. wasn't shy about pointing out that some of the names at the end of the Lakers' rotation, the two-way contracts, the developmental pieces, the untested guys trying to earn a spot, sure, they're fine for the long-term outlook of the franchise, But when it comes to competing for a title, they're not the answer. He laid it out plainly. Those players are nice story. They can flash in January or February. They can give you a burst in a regular season game, but that's not the same as being someone you can depend on when the lights are brightest. Stephen A. put it bluntly, saying, "You need players that a coach can throw out there in the conference final and not even hesitate. That's what depth really is. Depth isn't just bodies. It's trust. It's reliability. It's knowing that in the biggest possessions of the season, you can look down your bench and call a name, and that player will deliver without blinking." And that's where he circled back to DeAndre Ayton. Stephen A. emphasized again that Ayton has to be that guy. He has to own the paint. He has to set the tone. He has to be the anchor that stabilizes everything the Lakers do. Because if Ayton isn't that, then all of these conversations about the Lakers' chances, about their ceiling, about their ability to hang with Denver, Boston, Milwaukee, whoever it may be, they all fall apart. Ayton has to impose his will. Stephen A. made it clear. This is not a time for Ayton to be passive, to disappear for stretches, to pick and choose his moment. If the Lakers want to be legitimate contenders, he has to be consistent, dominant, and engaged from start to finish. But beyond Ayton, Stephen A. reminded everyone that the Lakers are essentially gambling. They're rolling the dice with Jackson Hayes, banking on his athleticism and energy translating when the stage gets bigger. They're counting on Maxi Kleber, who's had flashes, but who has never truly been leaned on in this type of championship or bust environment. These are bets, plain and simple. They're hopes that when the Lakers call on those guys in May or June, they'll rise to the occasion. And Stephen A. was clear. Hope is not a strategy. That's why the name Thomas Bryant keeps surfacing in all these discussions. Stephen A. said it directly. No, Bryant isn't a star. He's not going to command double teams or shift a defensive game plan, but what he is dependable. He's physical, he's tough, and he understands the demands of playoff basketball. He knows what it's like to battle against size, against pressure, against the kind of physicality that defines the postseason. Stephen A. argued that alone gives him real value, because reliability at the highest level is rare. He made the point that Bryant doesn't need to be spectacular. He just needs to be solid. He just needs to hold his ground, and that's something coaches crave when everything is on the line. And Stephen A. drove it home with this thought. When you look at teams that win titles, it's never just about the stars. Yes, you need your LeBron, your AD, your Ayton to carry the heavy load. But championships are always decided by the guys in the middle of the rotation, the players who swing a series by giving you 12 quality minutes that don't sink the ship. That's why he kept saying Thomas Bryant's name with so much emphasis. In Stephen A.'s eyes, Bryant embodies that type of role player who doesn't wow you on paper, proves his worth when the games matter most. And then the conversation shifted, because Stephen A. wasn't just talking about depth. He pivoted to the blockbuster that shook the league, Luka Doncic to the Lakers. He reminded the audience that this trade caught everybody off guard. He said, not just the fans, not just the media, but Jeannie Buss herself admitted she didn't see it coming. Even Luka didn't see it coming. That's how wild this was. Stephen A. emphasized that the deal blindsided everyone, including people in the Lakers' own front office. He went on to say that while the Mavericks fan base was devastated and Luka himself was emotional about the move, the Lakers did what great organizations do. They seized an opportunity nobody thought was real and pulled off what Stephen A. flat out called a robbery. Luka was the crown jewel. And now, as Stephen A. said, the Lakers' future is not LeBron James, it's Luka Doncic. That's the guy. That's your building block. Stephen A. then connected it back to the bigger picture. Luka just signed that 3-year, $130+ million extension. He's in the best shape of his life. He's coming off monster performances internationally with Slovenia, and now the pressure shifts. It's no longer about the surprise of the trade. It's about what Luka does in purple and gold moving forward. Stephen A. was emphatic. If Luka delivers, the Lakers are immediate title contenders. If he doesn't, or if the roster around him doesn't hold up, then this gamble could look very different down the line. And his conclusion was clear. He said, The Lakers have enough to win a championship right now, yes. But if you want to be ironclad, if you want to remove the doubt, you're still one piece away. Whether that's adding someone like Thomas Bryant for stability or swinging for another major deal, you can't stand still in today's NBA. You've got to stay aggressive. It's shaping up to be a wild ride this upcoming season, and honestly, Lakers fans should buckle up. Things may feel a little dry news-wise right now, but trust me, that calm never lasts long in Los Angeles. With this franchise, the spotlight is always on, and something big is always around the corner. That's why we're here, to keep you updated every single step of the way with fresh Lakers content, breaking it all down the moment it happens. Thank you all for watching and supporting the channel. It means the world. This community is growing because of the passion and energy of Lakers Nation. And together, we're about to experience another unforgettable journey. From training camp to opening night, from the highs to the lows, we'll be covering it all. And you better believe the drama will be there. That's just the nature of this team. So stay tuned, because boy, oh boy, once the season tips off, it's going to be electric. Storylines are set, rivalries are brewing, and the pressure is higher than ever. The next few weeks are going to be nothing short of thrilling, and you won't want to miss a second of it. Cheers, Lakers fans. The ride is only just beginning.